What's up? This is your boy Thurman with the Station 88 podcast under the Black Cat Panther podcast umbrella. Uh, like and subscribe to the channel. This is episode 1. We will be getting into the conference predictions and outlooks and college football predictions. So the first conference I will be looking at is the Atlantic Coast Conference. Previous winner of that conference is Clemson, runner-up being UNC. I will be doing a conference realignment episode. This is just to talk about the future of college football in general. Talk about that for a little bit, probably later on this week. This year is I think a huge year for a couple of teams in the ACC. Outside of Clemson, of course, Florida State, North Carolina, and are two teams that I could see winning that conference. Outside of Clemson, a couple of dark horses are Pitt and Virginia Tech, and North Carolina State. You could throw them in there. The two teams I see this year in the conference championship game, same as last year, Clemson, North Carolina. I don't see no one in that coastal division. Well, maybe it's a couple teams like Miami and Virginia Tech, maybe Pitt, but I think North Carolina would win those games, or at least win that division. Clemson and Florida State, they have a huge game September 23rd. Watch out for that matchup. I think the winner of that game wins the division easily. Florida State definitely is right there behind Clemson, but I don't think they'll get past them this year. But definitely look out for them in the future. Depending on wherever conference they go to, I don't think Clemson and Florida State will split, but I think those two will stay with each other, whatever, if they go to the Big Ten or the SEC. So I think those two will be side by side with each other. They stuck to the hip, so look out for that. Huge games in this conference this year to look out for: Clemson, Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Clemson, North Carolina State, Florida State and Pitt. UNC Clemson plays November 18th. I probably should give y'all the dates. Florida State and Pitt plays November 4th. Clemson, North Carolina State play October 28th. October 21st, Clemson and Miami. So, and November 25th, North Carolina State. I have Clemson winning this conference this year. Maybe their last ACC conference championship game, who knows? But I have Clemson winning the conference this year with they'll pick up a loss, but I don't know where. If Clemson loses one game, they'll lose to someone you wouldn't predict. I haven't looked at their full schedule yet, but they'll lose to someone at least that we wouldn't think they'll lose to. Next conference, Big 12, previous champion, Kansas State, runner-up TCU. They added 4 teams this year: BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF. Very interesting conference. They had TCU last year getting to the playoffs. I think there's a lot of teams in this conference that could possibly make it into the playoff. Just if they just went straight out, I don't think no one can just lose one game and get in the playoffs unless it's like a TCU situation where I believe TCU lost the conference championship game and that was their only loss. I'm not sure, but I think that's their only loss from last year up until the national championship game. I think you have to go undefeated in this conference. It's not a very strong conference, but it's a very interesting conference. Teams to look out for: This year, Kansas State, TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and Kansas. My predicted champion is Texas. I think Texas will have 2 losses this year. Uh, they're they're coming. I don't want to say Texas is back, but they're coming up. Um, it's crazy though. I think since the conference championship game started, I think Texas has only won the Big 12 3 times. That's a crazy stat. Um, I couldn't believe that. I'm kind of stuck on that right now. Texas only won the conference 3 times. So big games in this conference that you need to look out for. September 23rd, you got BYU and Kansas, Texas and Baylor, UCF and Kansas State. October 7th, Oklahoma, Texas. October 6th, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Uh, October 28th, Oklahoma and Kansas, BYU, Texas. October 21st, Texas, Houston. There's going to be a lot of shootouts, even though I think the defense has gotten better in the Big 12. Just a little bit. I think Baylor a couple years ago was like a top 10 defense team when they won the conference. Yeah, the defense gotten better, but it'd be a lot of shootouts, a lot of passing in these games. So Texas will win that. Will win the Big 12, but I only think they'll win it with like a 10-2 or 11-2 record. November 24th, you got TCU, Oklahoma. November 25th, BYU, Oklahoma State. So those are other big games in the Big 12. Next conference up, Big 10. Previous champion Michigan, runner-up Purdue. This conference is top heavy to me. You got a couple dark horses of Wisconsin, Nebraska, Illinois. The head coach for Nebraska slipped my mind right now, but y'all Panther fans probably know him and hate him. So, but he's a real good college coach. I think Nebraska will be better this year. Wisconsin, Illinois, Purdue, but the only teams I see winning this conference or have a possibility is Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. I got Michigan winning this conference. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Michigan will go undefeated this year. Not too many big games, but games you should look out for: Penn State, Ohio State, Purdue. November 11th, Michigan, Penn State. November 25th, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio State, Michigan. Oh, also, always watch out for Iowa. Everybody has to watch out for Iowa. For some odd reason, they always ruin someone's season, so watch out for Iowa. You have Iowa, Illinois on November 18th, October 6th, Nebraska, Illinois, September 23rd, Iowa and Penn State. But I have Michigan winning this conference. They'll go undefeated, win the conference championship. I think this is the last season with divisions. Not sure on the other side. I think Illinois maybe will win the West. Michigan will win the East. That's it for the Big 10. Pac-12. Last season of the Pac-12, we all know and love. Sad that it ended like that, but it is what it is. Previous champion Utah, runner-up USC. Picks to probably win this conference this year: Oregon, USC, Washington, Utah, and UCLA. Only dark horse I see is Oregon State. I don't see any other teams outside of that could possibly, sneak up and win this conference or be in a conference championship game. Oregon and USC definitely are up there with Utah. Washington, UCLA is like on another tier, but Oregon, USC, and Utah are on the top tier of picks to win this conference. Huge games this year. September 23rd, Oregon, Colorado. UCLA, Utah, September 23rd. September 30th. USC in Colorado. I think we just want to see how Dion would do at Colorado. Some of these games, hyped up based off that. But I don't think Colorado's at that point yet. But they'll be better than last year. They only won one game, so it's gonna be a bill. I'd say they probably win 4 games this year, maybe 4 or 5, but it's better than one. So, uh, October 14th, Oregon, Washington. October 21st, Utah, USC. That game last year was amazing. Utah winning it. I think it'd be the same type of game this year. Pac-12 games are weird in general, so you never know who's going to win or how great a game is until you watch it. So, Oregon, Utah, October 28th. November 4th, Washington, USC. November 11th, Utah, Washington. November 18th, UCLA, USC. And I have USC winning this conference. I think they'll go 11-1 or 12-1, considering the conference championship game. So I got them going 12-1. All right, the next and final conference is the SEC. Previous champion was Georgia, runner-up LSU. The top possible picks to win the conference this year: Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, LSU. Not really too many dark horses in this conference. Maybe an upset here too, but I don't think no one's going to. Outside of those 4 teams, I'll be shocked if someone outside of Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, or LSU wins the conference. I'm a South Carolina fan. I would love for them to win the conference, but I'm realistic. So if they do, I'll be happy. But I don't see it happening this year. Maybe in the future. They're building a real good team. Shane Beamer is doing a lot of great recruits. So we'll see how it plays out. I only see Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, or LSU win this conference this year. Top games: September 16th, Georgia, South Carolina. September 23rd, Ole Miss, Bama. September 30th, Georgia, Auburn. South Carolina, Tennessee. Bama, Mississippi State. October 7th, Alabama, Texas A&M. October 14th, Texas A&M, Tennessee. October 21st, Tennessee, Bama. Man, some good games back to back. October 28th, Georgia, Florida. November 4th, LSU, Bama. A&M, Ole Miss. November 11th, LSU, Florida. Ole Miss, and Georgia. Watch out for that game. I know no one really circled that, but to me, I think that's an interesting game. Especially Lane Kiffin with that offense against that Georgia defense. Kirby Smart, very good defensive coach. So it'll be an interesting game to watch to see how that plays out. I think Georgia will win it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I guess a upset alert. Watch out for that one. I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Miss wins that game. Georgia, Tennessee, November 18th. November 23rd, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Always a crazy game. November 25th, Bama, Auburn, A&M, and LSU. My prediction to win this conference is Georgia. They'll probably beat out Bama this year. I think Bama gets back to the SEC championship game, but I think they lose to Georgia. They'll beat LSU sometime this year. I think Georgia may lose one game this year. I wouldn't be shocked if they go undefeated as well, but I got Georgia going 12-1. 12-1 in the SEC. I don't think no. Well, I'll take that back. I think Michigan goes undefeated this year. That being said, playoffs. last year for the 14 playoff. I got Michigan as a 1 seed, Georgia as the 2 seed, 3 seed, uh, Clemson going. It all depends if Clemson only loses one game. I think prestige and name help these teams out with the committee. It sounds crazy, but I think if Clemson and Texas both have 2 losses at the end of the year and they both won their conference, it sounds crazy, but I think the committee will put Texas over Clemson. I'm not just saying that because I'm a hating South Carolina fan. I just think that people want Texas back so bad that I think the committee will put Texas over Clemson. It all depends on how Texas loses those 2 games. Like if they lose to Oklahoma and it's 31-34, or they lose to TCU and it's the same score, something happened, someone got injured, a blocked field goal, so it got to be like something crazy for that possibility to happen. I think they'll put Texas over Clemson. I think Clemson, they can't lose. They can't lose games like last year, like getting blown out by Notre Dame and losing to South Carolina. Their losses almost gonna have to be the same to a certain degree for them to even get picked over Texas. So it's scenarios basically. So if Clemson just got one loss, they're getting over Texas easy. The Pac-12, I think the Pac-12 and the ACC and the Big 12 are in that scenario where if you lose one game, it needs to be a closer game. It needs to be just that one game. It has to be against a conference opponent that's respected. Like USC can't lose to Stanford and have one loss. I don't think they'll get in. Even though it's the last year of the 14 playoff. I think when they go to 12 next year, I think all this would be, it's just, hey, who's the top 12 teams? Put them in the playoff. But right now, USC could lose. They could lose to Utah, but they can't lose another game. Florida State, even though I think Clemson is going to win this conference, Florida State almost is in the same boat. Like they can't. I think they have to go undefeated. To be honest, I think Florida State has to go undefeated, or have to go undefeated to get in the playoff. If they lose one game, and Texas loses one game, they'll put Texas over Florida State. So that 3 seed, I'm gonna stick with what I got. Clemson would be the 3 seed, and the 4 seed would be Southern Cal. I got both of them losing one game. So 1 seed Michigan against Southern Cal, 2 seed Georgia against Clemson. Excuse me. I got Michigan beating Southern Cal and Georgia beating Clemson. And then I got Georgia and Michigan in the national championship game, and I got Georgia again beating Michigan. The first three-peat since the 1930s. Minnesota did it. This was before the modern AP poll era, so that's my pick for the national champion for the year. And that's that for the 2023 season. Just my picks. You don't have to take my word for it. You can rub it in my face if I'm wrong. I don't get mad. So that's that. Later on this week, I'm going to talk about conference realignment and the future of college football. And later on today, maybe in a couple more minutes, I'm going to do my week 0 picks. I'm going to pick 10 games. 5 of them are just going to be head up. Like I'll pick a winner And then the other five for my betting friends out there. Uh, I'm gonna pick which bet to go with for those 5 games. Picking the over, under, uh, the spread, anything like that. So I'm gonna do that every week, probably on Friday nights or early Saturday mornings. So yeah, that's about it. First episode in the books. I want to give a shout out to Dub Q for giving me the opportunity. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Black Cat Panther podcast and Station 88 podcast. And I'll hit y'all up later.